Hi guys, AK88 on Cars here, back to YouTube after a 5-year break with something new. For my existing subscriber base, or sub 100 of you, you might remember me last posting about my 400 something brake horsepower FN2 Civic Type R, a car that I loved dearly and tracked and I took to Santa Pod and many other places. Back in 2016 I sold the car as I just wanted something with a little bit of a different form factor. However, the car, after serving me faithfully for all those times, shenanigans ensued, including after the new owner originally bought it, 20 minutes down the road, the clutch decided to go, and I'm told about a year later, the bottom end finally let go and the engine needed to be rebuilt. I'm happy to report that TDI North, I think, managed to rebuild the car, and it lives on to this day with more power than ever, I believe around 500 horsepower. But I'm here today to talk to you after that 5-year break, what I'm coming back with something new. It's a car that's quite special to me. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. Now, our story today unfortunately starts with a sad tale. In July of 2021, my father David passed away suddenly from a bout of cancer. About 10 years ago, he contracted cancer and beat it. However, during the COVID times, another aggressive form of cancer formed, which was very quick, and he died in July of 2021. He was only 68 years old. One of the things that Dad left to me was his beloved VX220 Turbo. Now, for those that don't know what a VX220 Turbo was, this was a collaboration between Vauxhall and Lotus, back when Lotus was originally making the S2 Elise as a crossover model. It's a car that Dad bought brand new back in 2004. A car that he loved dearly and owned and drove every moment of his life, and it was one of the things that he was incredibly passionate about. He was a member of the Lotus and VX220 forums, drove all over Europe, took my mum everywhere he went. It was a great present for him. He left the car to me after he died. We had a lot of good times together with cars. Actually, ironically, one of the last times, one of my last videos on here was actually driving the Civic around Anglesey. That was actually a Lotus on track day. The video's there. Please forgive quality. This was the days before YouTube editing and before you could really buy a decent 1080p camera at any decent cost. Now, the car itself and I have obviously got a hugely long history. I have loads of happy memories growing up, being a teenager and being in the car, and my dad driving me around the local country roads. There's one time when we met, I remember this TVR, and I must have only been 14 or 15 years old, and you know, just racing after this car up the hill, following this V8 TVR was one of the most exciting things in that time that I had experienced in a car. There was loads of other great things that we did. We actually drove it on track up at the old Top Gear driving area, the aerodrome there, the one where Jeremy Clarkson was on the BBC, not before the whole thing sort of went down the chute a little bit, which was also a great experience there. You can see some of the shots here, shot on state-of-the-art DV tape camera. That's a digital tape camera, which is the only way that you could really record videos at that time with any sustained quality. And it was very weird. It's still weird to this day. Sat in the car. It's really just Dad's. So I'm not doing this the way that I would want to necessarily do it. I see what I'm doing as sort of improving his legacy. It's kind of strange having a car that you're never going to sell as well. Also weird. Most of the time you're spending money in the back of your you got that thought at the back of your head, maybe I shouldn't go quite that far, might have to sell it and recoup some of the losses these days. It's completely different if this will be a forever car for me. So a different set of sort of spending mechanics, shall we say. Now, with all car related stuff, my father perhaps didn't tell my mum maybe everything that was happening to the car, and actually again in that same Anglesey video that I referred to earlier was the first time I went in the car in many years. He took me on the track and I immediately realised that the car was significantly faster than the last couple of times that it was when I last went in it. But since then the car didn't really have a lot of service. It hadn't really been touched in the last 3 years. My father was busy with some situations with his parents that were, they were towards the end of their life as well. And the car fell into disrepair somewhat. It was regularly sawned, and normally when it went to track events, it was put on the trailer and followed through. So after inheriting the car, the first thing was to go through the car completely and see what was wrong, give it a bit of a service. My dad was sort of the man about sort of doing everything himself. Most garages didn't really touch it until he reached something that he couldn't defeat. I understand the car recently had a steering rack put in it, but other than that I took the car up to Lotus Southwest and had them go through the car. I found an Aladdin's cave of parts, including many parts that were brand new that Dad just hadn't fitted to the car. These included things like HID lights, some replacements to some of the interior trims, as well as a hard top that was bought and put in a bag and was never taken out again. Since that time, I sort of rescued the various parts from the back of the garage, and these were put on. The car had a relatively clean bill of health, and I decided to blow the cobwebs out, especially because of COVID and no one could get on a plane, that actually probably this is one of the great opportunities to do a drive through Europe. And here's a bit of a snapshot of what we saw. Actually, for a driving place, would actually really recommend France. A surprisingly large amount of large open roads, very well marked speed cameras, very different to Switzerland where they will hide them everywhere. None of them are marked, they are generally hidden everywhere, and in most cases they don't mark the speed. So a little bit of a catch-22 there, but it was an absolutely beautiful drive right the way through. The car performed relatively flawlessly, apart from it decided to develop what I later discovered was a cracked inlet manifold gasket squeak that squeaked almost the entire time unless you were going flat out. So that was my prepared excuse in case I ever got pulled over. Luckily that didn't actually happen. When looking around to decide who I went back to, I decided I was going to go back to my old faithful place, which is Torque Developments International in London. If you haven't been to this place or spoken to the guys over there, I really recommend you give them a try. I've worked with Mark, Sam and Dennis for many years. These guys are more engineers than they are mechanics. I always feel bad about calling them a car garage because they're that good. So I took the car over there and decided to order some new parts. As with always, I sort of replaced the things that were broken and went a little bit further. So let me show you what I bought. Who doesn't like car parts day when a nice big box of car parts shows up for you to explore? Here we can see Mochi the cat performing a detailed quality inspection of all the parts. I hope they pass. Huge amount of pieces here which I'll go through in further detail now. So one of the main issues I'm trying to solve here is the squeaking noise that was coming out of the inlet manifold. Why do this and just replace it with the bog standard inlet manifold? And again, there's nothing special about these inlet manifolds. They're the same ones that came on Zafiras and Astras, and that's one of the appeals of the VX, because if something really goes wrong, there's multiple engines that you can pull from, many of which are still in production in some form. I was really impressed with this Courtney Sport Inlet manifold. The quality of the manifold and the other company that Courtney partnered with was beyond my expectation. It was clearly a quality product, it was designed incredibly well, the finishings were also incredibly good, and it's great that these parts are being made by sort of local companies both in the UK as well as partnerships in Europe. A really great manifold. One of the other things that I wanted to upgrade whilst I was here was engine mounts. There's nothing wrong with the standard engine mounts, I wasn't really getting any movement, I wasn't getting any knocking, but for anyone that's been into cars before, engine mounts are one of those mods that's hugely underrated, and you nearly always eliminate a certain element of play when you replace them, especially if the car's more than 10 years old. But stiffened engine mounts really make a difference to the drive. It makes the car feel newer, the car feels more sort of hunkered down to the road, and you feel more connected with the power. It's another one of those great drivable mods. The limited slip differential from Quaife was a must-have purchase. So the original cars actually had an open diff because with the original power they only ran around 200 brake horsepower. Because the cars are so light, it sort of detracts from necessity, also the manufacturer's claim for needing to have an LSD. Now we're running sort of 300 brake horsepower plus, with more to come. It was one of those essential driving mods. The other thing I wanted to put in was the Lightened flywheel. So again, just helps the engine free up a little bit, rev slightly quicker. It's not necessarily a power mod, but again, anything that sort of helps the free flowingness of the engine and its components cannot be a bad thing. And this is a fantastic Lightened flywheel here, again produced by Courtney Sport. The Lightened pulley and Lightened belts is a mod that I've done many times to many cars. I'm not utterly convinced that it really makes any difference. I remember I spent a huge amount of money once on an underdrive pulley as part of works that I was doing for a Porsche Boxster S that I owned before the Civic, which is a fantastic car, don't let anyone tell you not. A secret that has only been discovered recently and something that I learned a little while ago by taking the plunge to get to it. Let's see if it makes any difference in this instance. I've also ordered a short belt which will help delete the auxiliary tensioner as well, which stays about 1.5 kilos. The car was off to TDI in London to have all the parts fitted. The process took around 3 weeks. Mark, Dennis and Sam did an exceptional job as always, and here's the finishing results. Here's a video of the car on the rolling road, and I'll put up the results shortly after. So there we are. When we're all said and done, the car gained around 20 brake horsepower more, much smoother through the rev range. I'm really looking forward to get the car back and really giving it a blast. The car currently actually isn't with me, it's with a body shop. I've decided to have a number of the parts painted. There was a bit of a scuff on back of the rear bumpers. That's what the little piston head sticker was hiding. Dad reversed it into the side of the gate a little while back. I'm also going to get part of the carbon fibre colour coded, fit some debadged grills and some variety of other parts. So I hope you enjoyed this video and this brief introduction to a new car that I'm super excited about. If you enjoyed this sort of longer form video, give this video a like and let me know in the comments. I haven't produced them much before, so this is a new adventure for me. I'm also going to be posting some smaller clips. I'll post a video of cars on the running road, as well as doing 0 to 60s and smaller clip times. If you want to see more of those, which is more what my traditional content was like, again, please let me know down in the comments. I'm keen to produce what we want to see. That's it for now. Stay tuned for more updates and take care. See you guys. Bye now. Well guys, just before you go, all the products that I've talked about, I've included the links in the description below. Please check them out. They're not affiliate links. I'm not being paid to recommend any of these products, but they're good products and I think you should check them out. Similarly, I've used some great non-copyrighted music that artists have made available to the general public to use in videos as well. I've listed the talented artists' details below. Please check them out. I had a huge amount of fun picking out soundtracks for these videos, and I'm sure the artists would really appreciate you checking them out. Catch you next time.
one.